Arun stood quietly at the edge of the ancient stone plaza. The ruins stretched before him, half buried in soil and roots. Tall trees rose above the broken walls, their branches moving with the warm wind. For many years, people had walked these paths without knowing what secrets slept beneath. To Arun, however, the ruins felt alive, as if the stones were waiting for someone to read their hidden message. He had studied Mayan carvings since he was a child. What fascinated him most was not the famous calendar or the stories of gods, but the strange symbols of the sun. In the museums and books, the sun was often shown as a face with rays. Yet here in Yucatan, in the temple he now explored, the sun looked different. The carvings showed it as a great wheel, with smaller circles spinning around it. Some figures even pointed toward the stars. Other scholars had laughed when Arun spoke of this. They said it was only myth, nothing more than a way for the Mayans to honor the sky. But Arun felt something was missing in their answers. He believed the Mayans had known something deeper, something more than simple worship. That morning, as the sun rose high above the jungle, Arun brushed dust from a wall. The carvings shimmered faintly in the light. He traced them with his hand and noticed a detail that made his heart beat faster. The lines formed a pattern that looked almost like a star map. He pulled out his notebook and compared the shapes to drawings he had made from astronomy charts. The resemblance was too strong to ignore. Behind him, his friend Thomas carried a pack of tools. Thomas was not a scholar but a field explorer. He was tall, strong, and full of energy. He often teased Arun about his endless notes, but he respected his passion. "You found something again, didn't you?" Thomas asked with a smile. Arun nodded. "Look at these carvings. Do they look like simple art to you? These circles are arranged like planets. And here, this path, it looks like an orbit." Thomas leaned closer, squinting. "Maybe you are right. But if that is true, then how could they know this? They had no telescopes." "That is the question," Arun replied softly. Later in the day, Leela joined them. She was an engineer who often worked with excavation teams to handle machines and equipment. She had sharp eyes and a careful way of speaking. When Arun showed her the carvings, she frowned thoughtfully. "This is not random," she said. "These shapes follow a pattern. It almost looks like design work for a machine, but it is too old, far older than anything that should look like this." The three of them walked deeper into the ruins. In the main chamber, part of the floor had collapsed, revealing a hidden passage. The air rising from below was cool, with a faint metallic smell. The team had been preparing ropes and lights for days, waiting for the chance to explore. Today, Arun felt it was time. They climbed down carefully into the darkness. The stone walls narrowed as they descended, but strange lines glimmered faintly, guiding their steps. The deeper they went, the clearer it became that this was no ordinary passage. At the bottom, they entered a chamber unlike any they had seen before. The walls were smooth and curved, not rough like the rest of the ruins. Strange golden symbols covered the surfaces, glowing as their lights passed over them. It felt as if the chamber itself was alive. Arun's breath caught. "This is it. This is what I have been searching for." Lila touched the wall gently. The surface was cool but vibrated faintly, like a machine that had not been used in a very long time. Tomas walked ahead and pointed. "There is something here." In the center of the chamber stood a stone altar, but instead of simple carvings, it held a panel that looked almost metallic. On its surface was a circle with lines radiating outward like the sun. Arun placed his hand on it without thinking. The panel lit up. Golden light spread across the chamber, filling the room with warmth. Symbols shifted, forming patterns of stars. A soft hum echoed through the walls. The explorers stood frozen, their hearts racing. "This is not myth," Arun whispered. "The Mayans recorded something real. They must have seen machines, great machines in the sky. They carved what they knew, and here they left proof." The light faded slowly, leaving only silence behind. But the three of them knew they had uncovered the beginning of a mystery far greater than any of them had imagined. Arun closed his notebook, his hands trembling. He had always believed there was more to history than the world admitted. Now he had proof. The Mayan sun was not only a symbol of worship, it was the key to something powerful, something that had once stood above the earth. And deep in his heart, Arun felt this was only the beginning. The chamber under the temple was silent after the golden light faded. Arun, Lila, and Thomas stood close together, unsure of what they had just witnessed. The walls no longer glowed, but the memory of the stars and circles remained clear in their minds. It was as if the room had tried to show them a message, one that the Mayans had hidden for centuries. Aaron bent down to study the panel again. His hand shook as he touched the cool surface, but nothing happened this time. The circle lay dark, its golden lines dull and lifeless. He sighed and stepped back. "I think it only reacts once," Aaron said quietly. "Or maybe it needs something more," Lila replied, brushing dust from her gloves. "Machines often require a sequence. If this really is a machine, then the carvings above may be instructions." Tomas moved to the far side of the chamber and aimed his light at the wall. The beam revealed a faint doorway, half hidden by stone. Unlike the other walls, this one looked weak, as if it had been sealed quickly to keep something inside. "Look here," Tomas called out. "There is another way forward." The three gathered near the blocked doorway. Lila examined the edges and shook her head. "This is not natural collapse. It was sealed on purpose. The stones are packed too neatly. Someone did not want anyone going through here." Aaron felt his pulse quicken. "That means something important is behind it. Maybe this is where the truth lies." They set to work with tools from their packs. The stones were heavy and the passage narrow, but slowly they pulled pieces free. Hours passed before they made an opening wide enough to crawl through. Cool air drifted from the dark space beyond. It carried the faint scent of metal, sharp and dry. Aaron shivered. He did not expect such a smell in ruins this old. Thomas went first, holding a rope tied around his waist. He moved slowly, sweeping the ground with his light. After a few minutes, his voice echoed back. "It is safe. Come through." Aaron and Lila followed. The tunnel opened into another chamber, larger than the first. This one was stranger still. The walls were smooth and curved, shaped like a dome. Lines of golden paint stretched across the surface, forming a pattern that looked like the rays of the sun. In the center stood a tall pillar made of stone and metal fused together. Around its base were several golden objects shaped like discs and rods. Some were broken, but others looked untouched, as if waiting for someone to claim them. Lila knelt beside one of the discs. It was heavy but perfectly balanced. She ran her fingers along its edge and noticed tiny grooves far too precise for ancient tools. "This is not simple art," she whispered. This was engineered. Aaron felt a mix of wonder and fear. The Mayans could not have made this with their own hands. These relics must have come from somewhere else, maybe from the sky itself. Thomas lifted a rod and held it against the light. Symbols glowed faintly along its surface. He frowned. "This is not gold like we know it. It feels different, stronger." Suddenly, the pillar in the center gave a soft hum. The sound spread through the chamber like a vibration under their feet. The golden relics lit up one after another, casting warm light across the dome. Aaron's eyes widened. "We must have activated it by touching them." The relics floated slowly into the air as if pulled by an unseen force. They spun around the pillar, forming a pattern of circles and lines. A projection burst forth, filling the dome with light. The three explorers gasped. The projection showed a great wheel in space, larger than any mountain. It spun slowly, with beams of energy stretching outward. Around it moved smaller orbs, like satellites. The image was clear. This was not a symbol of the sun, but a machine orbiting Earth. Lila clutched Aaron's arm. "This is what they carved. This is what they saw." Aaron's voice was barely a whisper. "A solar engine. The Mayans must have lived under its shadow." The vision shifted. The giant machine shuddered, pieces breaking away. One of the satellites exploded in a flash of light. The energy beams weakened and the great wheel tilted out of control. The Mayan Empire, proud and strong, must have watched as the sky itself betrayed them. The projection faded, leaving only the quiet glow of the relics. Slowly, the discs and rods lowered back to the ground, resting as if nothing had happened. The chamber fell silent again. Thomas broke the silence first. "If this is true, then history is wrong. The Mayans did not just fall because of drought or war. Something greater destroyed them." Lila nodded. "And whatever it was, they wanted to hide it. That is why this passage was sealed." Aaron placed his hand on one of the relics. It was warm to the touch, almost alive. "We must learn more. The world deserves to know. This is not only Mayan history. This is human history." The three of them exchanged serious looks. They knew they had uncovered something dangerous and powerful. Whatever had built that machine in the sky, whatever had taught the Mayans, might not be gone forever. For now, the relics lay silent, but the explorers could not shake the feeling that they had awakened something that had waited for centuries. The relics rested quietly on the floor of the hidden chamber. Their golden surfaces reflected the explorers' lights, but deep inside, they seemed to carry a glow of their own. Arun, Lila, and Thomas stood around them, their faces full of wonder. The memory of the solar engine projection still lingered in their minds. Arun knelt beside the largest disk. It was smooth and heavy, with fine markings carved across its surface. When he ran his fingers over it, he felt tiny grooves forming patterns of circles and lines. The more he looked, the more he was sure these were not random decorations. They were instructions. "This is not treasure," Aaron said softly. "This is technology. The Mayans must have guarded these objects not for wealth, but for knowledge." Lila leaned closer, her eyes shining. "You are right. Look at this design. The grooves are perfectly even. No ancient tool could cut with such precision. Whoever made this, they worked with methods beyond what we know even today." Thomas lifted one of the rods. It was long, with strange symbols running down its sides. As he turned it in his hand, the symbols glowed faintly, responding to his touch. He nearly dropped it in surprise. "It reacts," Thomas said quickly. "I did not press anything, but it knows I am holding it." Aaron reached for the rod carefully. When he touched it, the glow grew brighter, and the other relics stirred. The discs trembled slightly on the floor, as if alive. Aaron placed the rod back down, and they settled again. "They are connected," he whispered, "like parts of a single machine." The explorers decided to examine each relic one by one. There were 3 discs and 2 rods in total, all made of the same golden material. Each carried markings that seemed to match the star patterns carved in the ruins above. Lila noticed that when the discs were arranged in certain positions, the markings lined up to form a map. "This looks like a path," she said. "A path through the stars. Maybe these relics are not just keys. They could be guides." Arun studied the pattern carefully. The largest disc showed Earth at its center, with circles spreading outward like orbits. The smaller discs seemed to represent satellites or smaller stations. The rods, when placed upright in the grooves, pointed to distant stars. Together they formed a story: the building of the solar engine, its orbit around Earth, and its terrible collapse. The 3 of them sat in silence for a long moment, staring at the map. It was more than history. It was a warning. Finally, Thomas spoke. "If the Mayans had these relics, why did they not use them to protect themselves? Why did their empire fall if they held such power?" Aaron's voice was heavy. "Maybe they tried. Maybe they fought to keep the engine alive. Or maybe these relics were only fragments, pieces of a greater whole that was lost." Lila added quietly. "Or maybe someone came to take the rest." Her words echoed through the chamber like a chill wind. None of them wanted to imagine who or what could have built such a massive machine in the sky, or why it had fallen. But the relics before them were proof that the Mayans had not stood alone. Aaron opened his notebook and began copying the markings. He sketched the discs, the rods, and the star paths with careful strokes. His heart raced with excitement, but he also felt a heavy weight. The responsibility of this discovery was enormous. If the world learned of these relics, everything would change. History, science, even the way humanity saw itself. While Aaron worked, Lila tested the surfaces with her tools. She scraped gently at the edge of a disc, but the metal resisted completely. Her blade left no mark at all. She tapped it with a hammer, and the sound rang out pure and clear. "This is not gold," she said firmly. "It only looks like gold. It is harder than steel. We cannot shape it. We cannot even scratch it. Whatever this is, it was built to last forever." Thomas frowned. "Then why was it left here, hidden under stone?" "Because it was too dangerous," Aaron answered. "The Mayans must have known. They sealed it away so it would not fall into the wrong hands." The 3 explorers decided to carry one relic out for study. They chose the smallest disc, carefully wrapping it in cloth. When Thomas lifted it, the chamber gave a low hum again, but no light appeared. The other relics remained still, as if watching silently. Aaron looked back at the glowing symbols on the walls. "We will return for the rest. For now, we must learn what we can. This disc may tell us how the others work." As they climbed out of the hidden passage, Arun felt the weight of the disc pressing against his mind as much as Thomas's arms. The relic was more than an object. It was a voice from the past, carrying the secrets of a fallen empire. Above ground, the jungle was alive with sound, but Arun felt a strange silence in his heart. The relics were not just history. They were a key, and keys always open doors. What waited behind this door he did not yet know. But one thing was certain: Humanity was not alone in its story, and the Mayan sun machine was only the beginning of a much greater truth. The jungle night was thick with sound when Arun, Lila, and Thomas returned to their small camp near the ruins. Crickets sang, and the distant call of birds echoed through the trees. But none of the explorers paid attention. Their thoughts were fixed on the golden disk now resting on a cloth inside their tent. The object seemed to glow faintly, even without light. Its smooth surface reflected the flames of their campfire, sending golden ripples across the tent walls. Arun sat close to it, his notebook open, sketching and writing as quickly as his hand allowed. Lila watched quietly while Thomas paced near the fire, restless. "I do not like this," Thomas muttered. "That thing does not belong here. Every sound in the jungle feels heavier tonight, as if something knows what we took." Lila sighed. "You are not wrong. Since we removed the disk, the chamber reacted. The hum, the glow, those were warnings. Machines do not wake for nothing." Aaron stopped writing and looked at them both. His eyes were tired but burning with determination. "Listen to me. We have to study it. This relic is proof that the Mayans guarded knowledge from beyond their time. If we hide it, we lose the truth forever. If we understand it, we may find out what really happened to them." Neither Lila nor Thomas argued further, but the unease remained. Later that night, Arun held the disk in his hands. He turned it slowly, watching the grooves catch the firelight. His fingers brushed one of the carved circles, and suddenly the disk came alive. Golden lines shot outward, filling the tent with light. Lila and Thomas rushed over. "What did you do?" Lila cried. "I only touched it," Aaron said in awe. The disk hovered from his hands, floating in the air. Symbols appeared above it, glowing in patterns that shifted and changed. They formed a spiral, then a great wheel, then a path through the stars. The ground beneath them shook lightly. The hum returned, stronger this time, not from the disk alone, but from the ruins themselves. The earth vibrated with energy, as if something deep below had awakened. The three explorers stared at one another in silence. They knew they had triggered something far greater than a simple projection. Without a word, they grabbed their lights and hurried back to the ruins. The night air was heavy, and the jungle seemed too quiet, as if the creatures themselves were holding their breath. When they reached the temple, the entrance to the hidden passage glowed faintly. A soft golden light leaked from the cracks in the stone. They climbed down into the chamber again. The relics that had remained behind were no longer still. The rods floated above the floor, glowing like burning torches. The discs spun slowly, releasing beams of light that painted the walls. The central pillar trembled, its surface splitting to reveal hidden mechanisms. "It is responding to the disc we removed," Lila whispered. "They are linked." The pillar projected a voice. It was not in Mayan, nor in any language the explorers knew, yet somehow they understood the meaning in their minds. The voice spoke of the Watchers, of the great engine, and of a return that cannot be stopped. Aaron's skin prickled. The Mayans left this as a warning. They knew something would come back. The message repeated, then shifted into images. The explorers saw the solar engine once more, but this time from another view. It orbited above Earth, bright and strong, feeding on sunlight. Then shadows appeared, shapes like ships approaching it. The engine fought to hold its place, but the ships tore it apart. Pieces rained down on Earth, and the vision ended in fire and silence. Thomas clenched his fists. So it was not only failure. Someone destroyed it, someone powerful. The relics dimmed, but the hum of energy remained in the air. The three of them stood in the center of the chamber, breathing hard, each lost in their own thoughts. Aaron spoke first. "If the engine was destroyed, then the ones who built it may not be gone. They may still exist. And if the relics are glowing now, maybe they are calling out, sending a signal." Lila nodded slowly. "Machines like this are never alone. If one wakes, others will know." Thomas's voice was low and firm. "Then we are not safe. If we keep these relics, we may be inviting something back to Earth." Aaron placed his hand on the glowing pillar. It was warm, alive, like the beating of a heart. His mind was torn between fear and wonder. For all his life, he had searched for proof that humanity's past held secrets beyond imagination. Now he had found it, but with that proof came danger. "We cannot stop now," Aaron said at last. "The truth is greater than our fear." The Mayans tried to guard it, but they also left these relics so someone in the future could find them. Maybe they trusted that humans would be ready when the Watchers returned. The chamber fell silent again, but the explorers knew nothing would ever be the same. They had awakened something ancient, and whatever forces had destroyed the solar engine long ago might now be turning their eyes back toward Earth. As they climbed back into the jungle night, the golden light still glowed faintly below the ruins, pulsing like the heartbeat of a giant. The Mayan vault was awake, and the world would soon learn the weight of its secrets. Days passed since Arun, Lila, and Thomas had awakened the relics. The jungle seemed unchanged on the surface, but the explorers knew better. The golden objects pulsed with a quiet energy, as if waiting for something beyond their understanding. Arun had spent hours studying the markings, trying to decipher patterns. Each night the relics responded, projecting images of distant stars and strange machines orbiting Earth. One evening as the sun sank low, a sudden vibration ran through the ground. The explorers looked at one another in alarm. The relics, resting on their pedestal in the hidden chamber, began to hum louder than ever before. Light burst from them, golden beams stretching upward through the temple's ceiling and into the sky. "This is not normal," Lila said, her voice tense. "The energy? It is reaching out." Aaron nodded. "I feared this. The projections were warnings. If the relics are calling out, someone may be listening." Thomas tightened his grip on the rope he carried for safety. "Then we might have company." The sky above the jungle darkened strangely, as if the sunlight had been swallowed by shadow. High above, a massive shape appeared, moving silently among the clouds. It was a ship, immense in size, unlike anything seen on Earth. Its surface reflected the sun like polished metal, yet it did not resemble any human creation. Aaron's heart raced. "The Watchers," he whispered. "They have come back." The ship descended slowly, hovering above the temple. Beams of soft golden light reached down, touching the treetops. The jungle seemed to pause, as if holding its breath. Aaron, Lila, and Thomas stood together, staring upward in awe and fear. Then the ship's light focused on the hidden chamber. The relics responded immediately, floating and spinning, casting intricate patterns of light against the walls. Symbols appeared in the air, communicating something beyond human language. Yet the explorers could feel the meaning, the intention deep in their minds. "They are not hostile," Aaron said slowly. "Not yet. They are identifying the relics. They want them," Lila shivered. "And if we refuse?" "We will find out," Thomas said grimly. A deep hum resonated from the ship, and the air around the temple shimmered. The explorers felt a strange pull, as if invisible threads were trying to draw them closer to the relics. Arun placed his hand on the largest disk. The golden light flowed into him, showing visions of the ship and the beings within. They were tall, elegant, and composed of light and energy. Their presence was overwhelming, but not cruel. "They recognize us," Aaron said. "They know humans have found their technology." Lila stepped closer. "Then maybe we can communicate," Aaron nodded. He focused on the relics, letting the golden energy flow around him. Images of peaceful civilizations appeared in his mind. The Mayans, the great solar engine, and the fallen empire were shown again. He understood the message. The beings had once guided the Mayans, teaching them to harness the power of the sun machine. But the empire had failed, and the knowledge had been hidden, waiting for someone capable of understanding it. The ship remained above, hovering silently. Slowly, a light beam extended toward the hidden chamber, illuminating the relics. Aaron felt the connection deepen. He realized they had a choice. The visitors did not demand war. They wanted the relics returned, yes, but their purpose seemed to be observation and retrieval, not destruction. Thomas exhaled. "Then we must decide. Give them the relics or try to keep them." Aaron looked at Lila. "If we give them all the relics, we may lose the chance to understand them ourselves. If we keep them, we risk conflict. But perhaps there is another way." Lila's eyes lit with understanding. "We can show them we are ready, that we are worthy to learn, not just to give or take." The explorers arranged the relics in a pattern matching the Mayan carvings. The discs and rods floated into position, and the chamber glowed brighter than ever. Symbols spun above the pillars, forming a message of respect and understanding. Aaron felt the visitors responding, acknowledging that humanity could comprehend their technology and wisdom. Above, the ship pulsed with golden light. Slowly it began to rise, moving back into the sky. Aaron and his team watched, hearts pounding. The relics dimmed and settled on the pedestal, silent once again, but the connection remained. They knew the visitors had seen them, had judged them, and had withdrawn for now. Thomas broke the silence. That was close. Too close. Aaron smiled faintly. Yes, but we learned something important. They are not enemies, at least not yet, and the relics are safe for now. Lila looked around the chamber. We need to understand them fully. If they return, we must be ready. These relics are more than history. They are a key to power beyond our world. The three explorers left the hidden passage, stepping into the quiet jungle night. The stars above seemed brighter, as if watching them. Aaron carried a sense of awe and responsibility. Humanity had awakened something ancient, something that could change the fate of the world. And deep in the ruins, the relics waited silently, golden and patient, holding the secrets of the Mayan sun machine, waiting for the moment humanity would be ready to unlock their full power. The days after the visitors had departed were tense. Arun, Lila, and Thomas worked tirelessly to study the relics, yet every moment carried a weight of uncertainty. The golden discs and rods seemed to pulse slightly, reminding them of the power they had awakened. Each of them understood that the visitors could return at any time, and when they did, humanity would face a challenge unlike any before. Aaron traced the grooves on the largest disc, feeling the faint vibrations of energy. The markings formed patterns like circuits and star paths. If we understand this fully, he said, we might control the power that once moved the solar engine. Not to destroy, but to protect. Lila leaned over his shoulder. It will not be easy. The technology is far beyond anything humans have built. We must think carefully. One mistake and we could destroy ourselves instead of defending Earth. Thomas paced the chamber, tension in his movements. And what if they return while we are still learning? The visitors might demand the relics back. They could see us as unworthy. Aaron looked up. Then we must show that we are worthy. We cannot fight blindly, but we also cannot give up. The Mayans hid these relics for a reason. They trusted someone in the future to protect them. For days, the team experimented with the relics. They discovered that the discs could channel energy when aligned correctly. The rods acted as amplifiers, directing the power outward. Small projections appeared when the pieces were combined, showing simulations of solar beams, protective shields, and orbiting structures. Each time they worked together, the chamber hummed with energy, as if acknowledging their progress. One evening, Aaron activated the largest disc. Golden light filled the room, brighter than ever before. The rods lifted into the air, spinning slowly around the central pillar. Symbols appeared above them, forming a map of Earth surrounded by energy fields. Lila gasped. It is like a shield. The Mayans must have built this to protect themselves from the machines or beings in space. We can use it to defend Earth. Thomas looked worried. But the visitors will see it. They will know we are using the relics. What if they think we are stealing their power? Aaron shook his head. We are not stealing. We are learning. We are protecting. That is what the Mayans did. They were not conquerors. They were guardians. We must do the same. Suddenly, a faint vibration ran through the chamber. The relics pulsed with energy, responding to the alignment. A projection appeared in the air, showing the solar engine once more orbiting above the planet. This time it was whole, shining with golden light protected by a circular energy shield. Aaron realized that the Mayans had built a simulation, a teaching tool to show how the relics could control the power safely. This is it, Arun said, awe in his voice. We can rebuild the protection. Not to attack, but to defend. The team worked through the night. They adjusted the discs, repositioned the rods, and studied the patterns. The chamber hummed louder with each adjustment, as if cheering their efforts. By dawn, the golden energy formed a network of shields over Earth's surface in the projection. Arun knew this was only a simulation, but it proved that humanity had the ability to control the relics responsibly. Days later, the sky above the jungle darkened again. The familiar shadow appeared, a massive ship descending silently from orbit. Aaron, Lila, and Thomas watched, their hearts pounding. The visitors had returned. The ship hovered above the ruins, beams of golden light scanning the temple. The relics in the chamber responded immediately, floating and spinning. Symbols appeared in the air, showing the visitors that humans were ready. The explorers held their ground, standing between the relics and the light from the sky. Aaron stepped forward, touching the largest disc. The energy flowed through him, forming a connection between the relics and the visitors. In his mind, he saw the beings inside the ship, tall and composed of light. They watched patiently, not with anger, but with judgment. We are ready, Aaron thought. We do not want to fight. We want to protect Earth. We want to learn, not take. The visitors pulsed with energy, then withdrew slightly. The symbols above the chamber shifted, showing acknowledgement. Aaron felt relief but remained vigilant. The power of the relics was immense, and the visitors were not fully convinced. Tomas whispered, "We stood our ground, but we must be careful. One wrong move and this could end badly." Aaron nodded. "We have to continue learning. We must master the relics fully. Humanity's stand is not just about this moment. It is about our future." As the ship slowly rose into the sky, Aaron, Lila, and Thomas knew that the challenge was far from over. They had gained trust, but the power of the Mayan relics carried responsibility. The fate of Earth now rested on their courage, wisdom, and unity. The relics pulsed quietly on the pedestal, golden and patient, waiting for the day when humanity would fully embrace the knowledge of the fallen empire and use it to protect the world from the forces that once brought the Mayans to ruin. The jungle was quiet as Aaron, Lila, and Thomas approached the hidden chamber one last time. The relics rested in their familiar positions, golden and still. But the explorers knew better than to believe they were dormant. The relics carried a life of their own, a memory of the solar engine, the Mayan Empire, and the distant watchers who had once returned to Earth. Aaron stepped forward, placing his hands gently on the largest disk. A warm hum spread through the chamber, flowing into his arms and shoulders. Lila and Thomas joined him, touching the rods and smaller disks. The energy of the relics pulsed through them, connecting them in a shared awareness. The relics were alive, yes, but they responded to purpose, to intention, and the explorers were ready. "Are we truly ready?" Thomas asked quietly. Aaron nodded. "We have learned. We have practiced. We understand the power is not for us alone. It belongs to the world, to protect it. We must be careful, but we cannot hesitate." With careful movements, Aaron arranged the disks and rods into the formation shown in the Mayan carvings. Golden light spread across the chamber, reflecting in patterns on the walls. The pillars glowed as the relics connected, projecting a vision of Earth from space. The world below shimmered with a golden network, a shield formed from pure energy. It stretched over continents, oceans, and mountains, protective and strong. Aaron realized this was the same technology the Mayans had built centuries ago. They had used it to guard their people, to defend the solar engine, and to leave a message for those who could continue their work. Lila's eyes shone with wonder. "It is beautiful. The Mayans left this for a reason. They trusted humans to use it wisely." Thomas looked up at the ceiling as if he could see the distant ship of the Watchers. "If they return now, they will see we are ready. They will know we are not enemies." The chamber pulsed with energy, and for a moment Aaron felt the presence of the Watchers in the air. They were observing, silent and immense, yet not threatening. Aaron understood that humanity had passed the test. By choosing protection, by understanding the power instead of taking it, they had proven themselves worthy. The golden energy of the relics surged, forming intricate patterns above the chamber. The projection of Earth shimmered brighter than the sunlit jungle outside. Aaron felt a deep connection to the past, to the Mayans who had built the vault and the solar engine, and to the future that depended on this knowledge. "We are the guardians now," Aaron said, his voice steady, "not just of the relics but of Earth itself. The Mayans left this as a legacy. We must honor it." Lila placed her hand on his shoulder. "And we will. Together we can ensure this power is used only for protection, only for good." Thomas nodded. "We know what it can do now, and we know what it was meant for. We will not fail." The golden light began to fade slowly, the relics settling once more onto the pedestal. They were silent again, but Aaron, Lila, and Thomas could feel their presence. The energy had become part of them, a constant reminder of their responsibility. Above the jungle, the first rays of sunlight broke through the trees. The explorers stepped outside, blinking in the brightness. The world looked the same, yet they knew it had changed. Humanity now held knowledge beyond imagination, technology from a fallen empire, and the trust of beings from the stars. Aaron gazed at the horizon. "We have a duty," he said quietly. "The world must be ready if the Watchers ever return. We must teach, protect, and preserve this legacy." Lila smiled, a mixture of relief and determination. "Then we begin. The Mayans may have fallen, but their wisdom lives on through us." Thomas looked at the jungle surrounding them, the ruins hidden beneath layers of earth and time. "And we will honor it. We will make sure their sacrifice was not in vain." The three explorers stood together in the morning light, feeling the weight of history and the promise of the future. The Mayan vault of the sun had revealed its secrets, and humanity had embraced its responsibility. The golden relics were no longer just objects of wonder. They were symbols of hope, guardianship, and the enduring power of knowledge. Aaron, Lila, and Thomas knew that their journey was only beginning. They would continue to explore, to study, and to protect. The legacy of the sun was alive, and they were its keepers. Through courage, wisdom, and unity, humanity would stand strong, ready to face whatever challenges the universe might send their way. For the first time in centuries, the world felt the presence of the Mayan sun machine, not as a lost secret, but as a promise of protection and the enduring strength of those who had come before. And in that moment, Aaron understood fully, the legacy of the fallen empire was no longer theirs alone. It belonged to all of humanity, shining bright like the sun itself.